Okay, guys, this is The Veil Taken Away. I'm Pastor Dave, and this is tape number 80. Today, I did plan on touching base a little bit on Exodus, but because of the recent events that have just happened in Syria, I thought maybe it'd be best to maybe review a little something that Jesus had said to us about the end times. As you know, the United States launched 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria because of a chemical attack that was purportedly launched on its own people by Assad. This is what they're saying. But regardless of how it happened, these are strenuous times that we live in. These are biblical times. These are tribulous times that we're living in. And these are prophetic times that we're living in. And I wanted to touch base on something the Lord did say. I wanted to go over what he said was going to happen. These are signs of the end. And I thought it best maybe we just kind of review this and kind of find out where we are really in the world concerning these events that are happening right now as we speak. Let me move this little guy so I can get a little bit closer here. Okay. All right. Let's start with Matthew chapter 24 if we could. And let's go to chapter 24. Let's start down to verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, what shall these things be? Or when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And before I say this, Lord, before I go into this, I want everybody to know I neither received it of myself. I wasn't taught it by no means by any institution, but by the revelation of Jesus the Christ through the Holy Spirit, which is given to each and every believer on his name. It's very important, guys, that we come together as a Christian community because things are going to get a lot worse. And I'm here to tell you that they're going to get a lot worse. Okay. Jesus says, and Jesus answered and said to them, Now take heed, beware that no man deceives you. Many shall come in my name and say that I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Okay, so that could very well be many are coming and claiming themselves to be Messiah, and there will be many. I mean, let's look right now for a moment, if you would, at what's happening in Israel. Okay, you've got a temple that is being planned, all the garments that are being readied, most of them are already ready. They've already named potential high priests. They've already reduplicated all of the objects that are going to be used in this temple. And scuttlebutt, and I just say this loosely, is that perhaps Trump himself and Putin might be involved in that. We do know that the Israeli Supreme Court was generously provided, and I use this term loosely, by the Rockefellers. So we're talking about some situations here, okay? And it's a Masonic design. Okay, we've got some really situations here. So when you've got someone who is already been named as a high priest, in other words, this person is saying that they themselves are the mediator between God and man. This is the third temple that I'm talking about here. They've already raised the animals, the red heifer. They got the shovels, the basins. They've got all the money they need to do it. One of the menorahs is on a display, pure gold. They've got the plans drawn up. All they're looking for is a little real estate, and I think they've got that pretty much pegged. And they're looking for donors. They've already got in their country, guys, a lot of things they ought not to have because of the second covenant that went into effect when Jesus died, which never was changed from the first, and that is they got a lot of things being worshipped in that country that shouldn't be. And I do believe it's going to just get worse as time goes on. But there will be also those that are claiming to be Christ, and they'll deceive many. And the Lord said this will happen. And how many times in history have you heard somebody that claims to be and can do miracles? Beware, guys, because Jesus says, as the lightning that appears from the east goes to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Jesus will be known when he comes back, because Jesus himself will be coming back with the saints and all the angels. There'll be no doubt, guys. As a matter of fact, when the angels bore witness in the book of Acts, when Jesus was taken up after being with his disciples 40 days, 40 nights, he was taken from them and he was lifted up on a cloud, the promise, mind you, on a cloud. And the angel says, "Men of Galilee, why are you staring at this? Why are you looking at him being taken away? The same way you see him leaving is the same way he's coming back." So guys, Scripture cannot be broken, and it will happen just as he said, and just as the angels proclaimed. Verse 6, "You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Guys, I know what a lot of people are going to be saying out there. Well, you know, Pastor Dave, we've had wars since there's been armies, and that is true. But look at the times you're living in now. Now, when there were rumors of wars, I don't know, 90 years ago, you didn't have to worry about an atomic or hydrogen bomb being dropped on you. They've got bombs developed now, guys, that can take out a continent. It's so powerful, it could wipe out a continent. So when the Lord says, you know, don't be troubled, there's good reason why he said that, because they have bombs now that can do just that. It was an atomic bomb that was dropped on Japan twice. And the ripples through history exist today. There's good reason why these individuals wanted to be a peaceful state, because they've already experienced the horrors of nuclear weapons. But I can tell you, I have seen something on YouTube to the effect of 100,000 times this planet can be destroyed because of nuclear weapons themselves. Think about this. That's how many weapons are on this planet that can actually wipe it out. Even a small limited nuclear exchange could take out this entire continent. It wouldn't take more than 1 to 3 of them. And I'm telling you now, if things don't change with the rulers and the kings of this earth, it will happen just that way. What happened when there was so much loss of life from ground forces? When the U.S. got the technology back in the 40s, they used it. And their mode of thinking is better them than us. But what they didn't think about is how many innocent individuals died of them. It stopped being an army fighting an army. It started being weapons that did not discriminate on whoever they killed or massacred. And how many innocents died those days and continue from radiation sicknesses after that? So I don't believe there's any justification of a war. Lord says, don't be troubled when these things happen. And guys, look around today. You're in 2017. We're hearing all the time about conflicts going on in North Korea, Iran, Iraq. Everybody thought it was going to be an in and out in Iraq. Has it been? It's worse off today than it was. Now I'm a firm believer Hassan Hussein and his sons got exactly what judgment would have required. But look what's happening still. I think a lot of what's going on there is the oil fields. And a lot of the resources today are being depleted. And I do believe that a lot of what's happening could be, might I share an opinion, false flag activity. For instance, those missiles that were just fired off, the 59 Tomahawks that the U.S. fired off into Syria. What causes me to pause for thought is all around the world, there are masses of individuals being killed similarly. There are Christians being beheaded. There are innocent folk being massacred, raped, their villages and their cities destroyed. And we don't know how many innocent lives are being taken on a daily basis. And yet, the U.S. never made intervention for these things. But Assad has been a thorn in the side of the U.S., maybe a little bit of a thorn that the U.S. like to see plucked out, so plans for world domination might go forth a little smoother for the UN. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. And was it the Assad government that actually launched those chemical weapons on its own population? The reason I pause on this situation, guys, would Assad not have known that there would have been a reaction from Trump? And maybe he would have strategically targeted the airfields. I'm just saying. Somebody, sure enough, killed innocent kids, women, and children. And old men that did nothing more than get up in the morning. They're going to come to an accounting. But if cooler heads do not prevail in the governments that should know better, because they are the ones carrying arsenals that have the capability of leveling this planet. And if rash heads don't prevail, common sense, it's going to get out of hand. And it's going to be a tit for tat. Do you remember the missiles of October? Do you remember Kennedy and the Russian leader? It was tit for tat. It came very close. And that was in the 60s when the bombs were just a few of them. They did not have the magnitude they have today. You place 3 of those strategically in any country, especially in the grain belts. What's going to happen, guys? The world's going to spiral out of control, and the very prophecies that Jesus had mentioned here are going to quickly come to pass. So when we're talking wars and rumors of wars, look around the world today. We can't turn on the TV much anymore without hearing something about North Korea potentially trying to get itself armed with a nuclear weapon, and its goal? To pop one off at the U.S. or its neighbor Japan. What about Iran. They're going out of their way. Everybody's forgotten about Iran, but they're going full steam. Some say they may actually have some, this is my opinion, already. What do you think their plans are? First take out Israel, and then maybe the U.S.? While everybody's focused one place, they're continuing on full strength. It's just going to take one loose cannon, guys, to go off. And once that spark is lit, we're not talking about a long fuse off a stick of dynamite here that can be put out. simply by stepping on it. We're talking about a fuse that is right next, inches between it and a bomb. There may not be enough time to defuse it once it's lit. And all it's going to take, guys, is something like a small skirmish overseas or an incident in somebody's backyard. And once that happens, it's tit for tat. Now, this is an explosive situation. No, I am not no Hannity. And I'm not anybody that does the news, but I am a U.S. citizen, and I do have eyes, and I have seen what's been happening. And what we have here is going to be a clash between two superpowers. It is purported. It is not known for sure. I would like to have thought that President Trump would have been informed. There might be potential Russian personnel in those places that were just bombed. YouTube says no, it never happened. He was never informed. But that would have been a grave mistake on Trump's part. I can't believe he would have done that. But nonetheless, this is Putin's backyard. Putin is in Syria. He's trying to keep Assad in power. It's going to be a tit for tat. You know what would happen if one Russian military personnel gets killed during this incident? It's going to be far worse, guys, than 70. My heart prays for every single child, woman and man that was slaughtered. But we got to be very, very careful what's going to happen here. Because if you got two superpowers, an eagle and a bear going at it, who do you think might have a bigger hand? Russia will not back down. And the U.S. should be aware of that. And the next thing that happens, you got warships out there. You don't want China out there with Russia, who are allies, against the U.S. The United Nations. We're talking dangerous, guys. And once that fuse has been lit, it's going to send the world escalating into something it cannot pull away from. We came close in the 60s. I was a little boy at the time. I remember this. And though I did not understand what was happening, I saw my parents, and they were deeply concerned. Now the United States and Russia and the rest of the world have thousands and thousands of these things. And Russia itself has one so big it could take out a continent. And with the U.S., with an electrical grid that's ancient, you got to send out for parts for, it wouldn't take much to knock out its grid, leaving the U.S. defenseless. I do believe at some point there's going to be a situation, because the Lord said it would happen prophetically, and I'm addressing every Christian out there right now. You need to know that the Lord is in control. What we may think is out of hand and it's troublesome, especially when you hear about the kids. And we say, oh my goodness, how can this happen? We have to remember something, guys. Jesus said it would happen. And until these things do happen, everything, I used to tell my kids this, until the last soul that is pre-known is sealed and saved, this is going to go on until everything is fulfilled. And that means everything, guys. As I continue, I would like to share about this, but I do want to make emphasis about what's happening now in Syria. I think wisdom would dictate that Assad step down. That's my opinion. I think wisdom would dictate that the leaders would have a little calmer heads that would prevail and seek a peaceful solution so no one else would be lost. And there's no person, whether you're American or not, that can look at a child that has been being washed down with hoses to get the chemicals off their little bodies that are burning and not be moved. But do you remember back in the 60s when there was a U.S. bomber, a spy plane that was shot down? Does anybody remember that? That spy plane that got shot down, the only casualty of that time, but that one casualty could have triggered tens of millions of lost lives had not cooler heads prevailed between the leaders of the time. So I'm appealing to these leaders of the time, and I'm appealing to everyone out there. Cooler heads need to prevail, because what is 70 could be 70 million. And this is dangerous times we live in. You've got too many countries right now looking for an excuse to start something with their neighbors. India with Pakistan, Israel with Iran, you got Iraq, you got ISIS, you got all these splinter groups. You got people bombing innocent countries that are doing nothing more than taking a subway train to their job. My thing is, don't we have enough problems? Why create more? But as he said, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. And that's what we're hearing now, isn't it? And this you take note of because of the times we're living in. These are not... This is not gunfire, guys. This is worse. Far worse. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Nations. Wouldn't you say that's what's happening now? Look, China just found out that the U.S. has been giving them phony money over the last couple of decades, and they're not happy. Would you be? Be like somebody for our wages or for our goods giving us monopoly money. Would you be happy? It's good for nothing. Russia and Iran, North Korea, sanctions, sanctions, and more sanctions. And in some cases, guys, they're punishing the just for the deeds of the unjust. But kingdom against kingdom. How many times are you hearing about groups? Blacks versus whites. You got the Pakistan with India. It's peoples. You got the illegal immigrants going in the United States. Guys, they're fleshing. They got bones just like you do, and blood running through their veins just like you do. They get hungry just like you do. They want peace, I like to think, just like you do. They want to eat 3 square meals a day. They like to have a little peace of mind knowing somebody's not going to drop a bomb on their home overnight, just like you do. And everybody wants to build a big wall around their countries, keep everybody out. You know, the U.S. used to be the good Samaritans of the world. Look, I'm old enough to remember these things. I'm going on 58, but I remember when I was 6, 10. The U.S. was the first ones to drop cargo planes full of rice, food, necessities, medicines, medical supplies. They were there. Every time. And God blessed the country for that, because they were there. But how often are we hearing that today? That the U.S. is dropping air supplies on Africa because Sudan and other parts of Africa are starving to death. They're dying in the dirt. How often have we heard about Mexico, Canada? Nobody's helping them too much, are they? And do we need to go to Venezuela? That was the most terrible situation I've ever seen, bar none. Did anyone hear about any U.S. drops being done there? I don't remember any. To the point where they were eating their very own zoo animals. They were chasing down the dogs and the cats, guys, the birds. Anything that moved. You don't think it's possible that this could happen anywhere in the world? Not just in Venezuela, who, mind you, was one of the richest countries about a decade and a half ago on the planet. Vast oil fields. What happened? Excuse me. Mom, can I have a cup? What happened? Nobody's assured tomorrow, guys. We only know about today. And a country that said, no, you don't understand. We're doing very well now. But it doesn't take much to change things, does it? And what happened to them, guys? They couldn't get toilet paper. What we take for granted. Women couldn't get the diapers for the children. They could not get the toilet paper for themselves. They couldn't get laundry detergent. They couldn't get food. They couldn't get so much as a bag of rice. They'd stand in lines all day long to get a little tiny bag of corn flour, if they were fortunate enough and got there early enough and the supplies didn't run out. And a little bit of cooking oil, and sometimes they didn't get that. You don't think it could happen here? I've seen pictures of women, used to be middle class families, in the garbage cans, in the garbage dumps, looking for food that everybody else threw away. This is people's. And the only one I know of that actually opened up their heart of compassion was Colombia. I do hope the Lord blesses that country for that act. They were the only ones that I heard of. And I didn't hear anybody making any food drops or, not even for kids. Kingdom against kingdom, guys. In Africa, I remember a clip that I'm never going to forget. It's burned into my heart. It burned into my mind. I won't forget it. Of a little girl doing all she could do for her two little brothers because they had not eaten. They were swollen, and not from food. Starvation is the most horrible thing that a person, I think, could die of. It's a slow death, and it doesn't discriminate. And these two were laying in the dirt the little girl tries her best with the blanket and carries each of her brothers. They were so light, they were skeletons with skin. Tried to give them each a bath. Now, what got me angry about these starving children is there were healthy adults watching it as if it was a tourist attraction. Women saying, oh, it's just so terrible. They're all dressed up. Look like they had ate a good meal. Watching the three starving to death. And their brothers, no doubt, are gone today. Which I do pray that the Lord had received them into his kingdom. But let me tell you something. You're standing there watching children suffer to that point and dying in the dirt, and you could have done something and you did nothing. You don't think that this is going to be brought up at Judgment Day? To stand there and watch and not go get a glass of water, applesauce, something. That is one sight I will never forget. The love of many waxing cold. Kingdom against kingdom, guys, is people against a people. Now, I'm not here to throw too many stones. I'm here to point them out. We're living as U.S. citizens in a country so far, and that is about to change. This is prophetic. Within 6 to 8 months, this country is going to start feeling a little pinch that Venezuela started to feel. And it's going to be felt. Make no mistake. In this country, guys, we can sit back. We can see that, you know, the grocery stores, they're still open. Shelves still got food on them. Milk still coming in each day. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of want here. Because the rest of the world, guys, hasn't quite got the hint that America's money is failing. And you maybe not notice that when you go to the store, prices are easing up ever so slightly. And more so, open the next bag of potato chips and that's air you have on the upper top. The bags are not even half full because resources are running very low. You might notice that beef up a little bit because the beef is just dropping dead. These are things that are supposed to happen. They're prophetically going to happen. Isaiah, Hosea, Zephaniah, all 3 books prophesied. Not just the land animals. And the way you know it's end time prophecy is the Lord said the fish would be taken away too. Hundreds of tons of fish are dying monthly. Kingdom against kingdom. People are more concerned about what they can store up, but not what they can share. It's too bad for you that you having these problems. I just feel terrible about it. But not going to any effort to help out if you can. If you can. Don't be like the people, guys, that watch the kids die in the dirt. Because if you can stand there and watch children who are doing all they can, this is innocence, guys. That's why Jesus says, unless you come to me as a little child, you're not going in. And this little girl, and I know she's with the Lord. She gave everything she had up until the time her brothers passed on. And all she could offer him was a bath, while the spectators looked on. I saw no one offering him water, offering him help. I saw no one bring forth a jar of applesauce, something that could be put into those bodies. I saw no one do that. It is said every 3.6 seconds somebody on this planet dies of starvation. So guys, the next time you start a meal, clock it. The first pan you take out, clock it. Until you're done with your food at your table with your family. Every 3.6 seconds a human being died. Because they had nothing to eat. Kingdom against kingdom is people against people. That can be broken down into the love of many waxing cold. Not putting forth their hands of generosity. Not helping your fellow man. Not helping your neighbor. And how much more when you got a child holding a bowl up saying, give me something. When human beings can launch chemical attacks, whoever it was, on children. You don't think we're in the end times? We are. For nation shall rise up against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, earthquakes in many places. Guys, have you seen the news lately? Pestilences, famines. Now, famines is a big one right there. Again, Venezuela, Mexico, Canada, North Korea, China. The U.S. is, you may not think so, but the U.S. has many starving children. It is starting to be worldwide. Now, guys, what they're not telling you about these famines and this shortage of food, it's not global climate. Oh, I'm sure it has something to do with a small portion, so minute it's not worth even mentioning. It's not global climate. The problem is, you're talking about the end times, and this is prophecy. It's going to happen. The Lord's getting ready to fold up creation. You don't think so? Look, I'm telling you as a brother to a brother, get on YouTube, please. Just get on YouTube. It's the only, look, YouTube I mention a lot for a reason. Mainstream TV is owned by very wealthy individuals that have an agenda, guys. They don't want you to know the truth. YouTube, there's still people that do tell the truth. Look on YouTube. Get the visual evidence yourself. Statistics. Numbers. Go at 2016. Start there. Recently. 2016. Then move on into 2017 to this. And we're in April. Guys, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons of livestock, birds, and fish just suddenly dropping dead. This is prophetic. It is going to happen. And what puts it different than in Noah's day, it's worse than Noah's day. And in these days, in Noah's day, guys, remember, the fish were not taken away. The fish actually were used to eat up what fell into it. Let's just be blunt. But in this day, the fish are being taken out too. And God said, even the fish I will take away. And guys, I have seen some of these photos you would not believe, but you'd have to if you're looking right at it. That's something that mainstream will not tell you. It won't do it. Because if mainstream were to tell you exactly what is happening on this planet, and they won't, there'd be a panic globally. Every store, every convenience store, every big chain store, every place would be ransacked. I'm telling you that the food supply is being wiped out, and it's divine. I know sometimes we have a hard time, but God's heart is, I'm getting ready to take my bride home. I'm coming back to get my kids. Enough. And when he says enough, he means enough. As in the days of Noah, it's going to get worse. I think I saw someplace in Egypt or something like that. It took a day's wage to get a small bag of rice. Rice is exponentially going up. Wheat, oats, beans, never mind meat. Famines, guys. And when I say famines, I'm talking biblical famines. Not like Egypt went through. And the Lord raised up Joseph. And through Joseph, which is a figure of Christ, he fed many. But what is happening today, it's global. This is a global famine. You probably have heard it mentioned on the news, a global famine. Because most of what's being grown, guys, is being put in somebody's gas tank. The idols have become the vehicles that people drive. And the people themselves that don't have this kind of income to buy a bag of rice are dying because there's nothing to eat. I saw on one TV show where kids were going to these tarantula mounds. Guys, children, and poking sticks down the hole to get the spider. And guys, I'm the first to tell you, I don't like spiders. Man, these are probably the bravest kids I've ever seen. Poking holes, get a stick down there, irritate it, and it comes out big. Little kid puts a little 6'10", puts his little finger on the back, pushes it down, takes the legs, pushes them up, grabs it, ties it up, throws it on the fire. Protein. I've seen it. Some will use the fangs as toothpicks with a little rice. Guys, you better start liking bugs, because the protein supply is quickly dwindling. Now, for children that are raised that way, they're going to do just fine, because there's no end to the insects on this planet. You'd want to go outside places that pesticides have been used, but really. But when I'm talking famines, guys, I'm talking famines worldwide. A lot of places now are becoming dust fields. They can't grow anything. There's a reason why the Lord said, let the land rest a bit. On the seventh year, you let it rest. Because all this continual, and I mean heavy duty planting and reaping, the land's not getting enough time to rest. So what happens to the land? It turns to sand. Topsoil's gone. Nothing left. And then if that doesn't do it, you got all these buildings being built on top of it. So the soil's being covered up. Any doable ground. It's estimated that over 900 million, about 1 billion, individuals on this planet currently are going hungry to the point of starvation. That is an extremely large number. And for the most part, countries that are doing fairly well are ignoring that. And they're not telling people about what's happening to the actual food supply on this planet. It is dying out. And the Lord said it would. Guys, this is something I have to keep bringing up. Is the Lord said it would. I'm reading His words, okay? And we can get discouraged about it. It is nothing we can do. It's prophetic, guys. It's going to happen. But the Lord says, what kind of person should you be as it's happening? Might we go there for a minute? I didn't even think I was going here with this today. But maybe it's because I just saw what was happening in Syria. We need to really go there. What kind of person should you be? What kind of person should you be as the Lord comes back? What kind of person should you be during these tribulous times? Guys, Revelations mentions it quite clearly. We are not supposed to be individuals that's going to raise our hands in violence to any human being. That might be hard for many to comprehend. Well, I'm just going to defend my house. Somebody comes at me. No, that's not the kind of person you want to be. We're supposed to be found in meekness. We're supposed to be found in peace. We're supposed to be found in His righteousness. We're supposed to be found doing the right thing. The right thing is not hurting somebody over a piece of bread. Like I had heard again, I saw a report on YouTube about it. Egypt right now is having some serious troubles. And there was this individual, a man that had some kids. He just went to get a loaf of bread. I mean, it is getting that bad, guys. Just a little loaf of bread. I'm talking about, like, a little loaf. Theirs are different than ours, but it's little. As he's coming out, apparently somebody wanted that bread to the point where they killed the man for that piece of bread. So this man's life was measured, and the cost of it was a piece of bread. Because the other people were hungry and they were willing to kill to get something to eat. Guys, are we getting a picture of what's going to happen? You think that because you're in the United States or in a free country somewhere that you're immune to it? Guys, I'm here to tell you, and I have never met a Venezuelan, but I just kind of got the sense that they pretty much probably thought the way we think, that in this country, oh, no. This country, no. It's one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. Guys, as a matter of fact, it's not. It's got an estimated $200 trillion debt it's never going to pay back. Not even the interest. And all the countries that owe each other all this money, what do you think might happen at the end? A reset. And who do you think might be responsible for that? And we'll just call it, let's just all start over again. We all got this massive debt. Let's just call it zero. We all forgive each other our debts and restart again. Simple solution, but a very deadly one. Meanwhile, other countries are saying we just don't have enough to feed our populace. We can't afford the food. We can't get the food. And even if we could find the food, everybody's fighting for that food. China comes in here to buy our crops up. And the reason they're buying our crops up is because we owe China so much money, we're letting them buy the crops up. They are taking our... I saw something on YouTube, guys, that I've got to bring up for a minute. But I will do it on the next tape. I ask your forgiveness, guys. I'm already at 50 minutes. God bless. See you in a bit.